p.m. Senator Abeler is ready to go. Senate File 3122 direct support professionals, the pre-training program, the setting up establishment and appropriation. We've had this conversation. You do not have an amendment, so
Mr. Chair, I do have a delete all.
Are you going to do the delete all? You can.
We're going to rob the delete all from you.
You're funny.
Mr. Chair, it's been an interesting session this year, and I want to commend the Senate for being here every day working. No vacations early in the session for us. We came right down, hit the ground running, and as it would be, Mr. Chair, very often you've had a lovely dinner. You got the turkey, you got the roast, you got the meatballs. My mother-in-law used to have 3 kinds of meat. And you have 3 kinds of salads, and then at the end, what do you have? The dessert, and you're so excited about that. Mr. Chair, I believe this is saving the best bill for last. So
I love it.
With that, I'll turn it over to my testifier who will persuade you of that.
Thank you, Senator Abeler. Fartun, please, for the record.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Chair, member of committee. Thank you, Senator Abeler, for always being there for us. My name is Fartun Wali. I wear different hats. Today I'm wearing a hat that is as a small owner business, immigrant background who have learned, and I've taken many, many English classes until I had my master's in public health. Minnesota Ethnic Probiotic Network supports ethnic-owned businesses that are led by majorities from immigrant women. Everyone else is welcome. Our goal is to address the issues that exist as a provider contract and build capacity. When we say capacity, capacity of compliance, capacity of everything else. Above all is addressing the unemployment issues that the DSPs and the businesses exist. We have huge unemployment issues with immigrant women and women of color. We've seen after coronavirus, all the trainings have gone online, and so majority of the people we are looking at this bill, chair and committee, are women who English is limited, but they're also one of the best caregivers in the world. I may be biased. Our goal is to provide them culturally and linguistically specific in-person classes, and we've already done one trial where we trained 14 women who among them speak 7 different languages. Quick example, I own a day support service. I have about 16 clients. They're all in high needs. 80% of our staff are Somali women, 20% are African-American women. I can tell you the care those women give to our clients is amazing, but the average DSP person makes between $16 and $17, and we know that's not going to work and that's not going to help them out of poverty. When we did a trial for our team, and they did all the trainings in person, the average DSP right now that works on my small business makes between 22 and 24, and that is an evidence of why we need to train culturally and linguistically specific for these individuals. I appreciate the time. I know it's a difficult time this year, but also our goal is to make sure that no one falls behind, and our families and the women and men that we serve have decent job that doesn't limit because they don't speak English. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wally. Senator Abeler?
Well, thanks. I know there's a lot of things on the agenda today, but I was just making some light of it in the beginning here, but how are we going to get people into the industry?
Yeah.
And without being anything more than opportunistic, many of the individuals that would be reached out by this particular program would be people who would actually do this work and take it seriously. There's a great love and passion for humanity and opportunity, and even some concentrations of populations where we need them. And we're short, Mr. Chair, I don't know, the latest number is 50,000 or so.
Yeah.
And in the budget that was presented to us from across the street, I think well, actually I've got the list of the programs available to get more people in, Mr. Chair. Oh, wait, it's a blank piece of paper. So I appreciate this idea coming forward. And just to be, I understand you're a little tight for money, which is why we left the numbers blank. So you can pick the number you like, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
you pre-answered what I knew Senator Aki was going to say. But Senator Abeler, I never forget years ago, you and then, well, Senator Gruenhagen, when you two were in the other body, introduced me to Fartun and the work that she started with doing maternal child health, and it just has expanded into something. And I know to this date, I appreciate the innovation that's coming out of there and what you've done. You've seen that, and I appreciate the work that you're doing on this, Senator Abeler. And thank you, Ms. Swally, for being here. So we're going to lay this one over, Glenn. Let's do it.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Senator Rasmusson, let's go to Senate File 3106. I think you also have some folks on the Zoomerang. Engagement Services Pilot Program Appropriation Availability Extension Provisions. And you got some appropriation availability, I hear. So you want to talk about the A1, or how do you want to do this, Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate the flexibility to have both of these topics heard today. Mr. Chair, if it's all right with you, I would like to talk through Senate File 3106 as introduced, because that's kind of talking about this appropriation extension, and then would like to offer the A1 amendment, and then have my testifiers talk through that.
So go ahead and do it, and then, when you're ready to offer the A1, you go ahead and do that, and then we'll take it from there. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to Senate File 3106, this whole construct came about because I had a very brave constituent who lost her husband to suicide. And she reached out shortly after his death and said, the mental health system failed my family. And I really appreciate her reaching out, and we had active conversations with NAMI around just the specific gap that their family faced. And we were able to develop an engagement services pilot program to help show value in adding these types of services in parts across the state. And as a part of that, this was part of the one-time appropriations from 2023. The Department of Human Services has been working on this, but they just got the request for proposals out just a couple weeks ago. And because of that lag, it would actually force the grantees to spend this money within a year, and they would like some more time so that they can show the proof of concept. And so to give you a sense of what Otter Tail County, which will be one of the applicants for this funding, what Otter Tail County Human Services is planning on doing, in year one, they want to take individuals who have been referred for civil commitment but don't meet civil commitment criteria, will be automatically referred to this engagement services pilot program, where they will have hired people in the Human Services Department reach out to them proactively to try to engage them in voluntary treatment and therapy, making sure that they have the support they need to stay out of civil commitment. And then in year two of the pilot, their plan is to take referrals from law enforcement, from the crisis team, from healthcare professionals, families even could reach out to be a part of this engagement services. And again, what this program is designed for are individuals who don't meet civil commitment criteria, but aren't engaging voluntarily in the mental health and behavioral health services they need. And so this is a way to proactively reach out to those families, reach out to those individuals, and try to help them get the help they need so that we can reduce civil commitments and we can reduce tragedies involving these families and this law enforcement. And so the bill as introduced simply extends this one-time appropriation by 2 years. It'll allow DHS and the applicants to this grant program more time to make sure that they can prove out this concept. And I think it'll prove to be a successful pilot program that then we can look at the results and think about doing again in the future.
Thank you. So with that, do you want to give us your A1 then? Do you want to move the A1 amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd move the A1 amendment as an author's amendment.
Thank you for that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. And I guess one of the things to think about when you extend it 2 years, I was just thinking, are we out in the out years? Are we paying for it twice? No, you'll explain that. You're crystal clear. That's good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, for the Senate file as introduced and regarding the engagement services pilot program, that's not expending any money. We're just extending out the appropriation, so allowing them to use that one-time money into 2028.
Yep. All right. Then we're on the same page. So you want to get Tammy Anderson and Hannah Frederick?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I'll just set the stage on this bill. So this This is a supplemental rate bill that would allow Otter Tail County the ability to negotiate a supplemental rate for up to 24 beds that provided supportive housing services for individuals recovering from substance use disorder, mental illness, or housing instability. And if you go look, Mr. Chair, in this section of state statute, there's a number of exceptions that have been made that allow different entities to go out and seek a supplemental rate. And we have some really great providers in Otter Tail County that are doing impactful work that would make them eligible for the supplemental rate based off of the work that they're doing. And so I'll turn it over to them to talk about the impactful work that they're doing, and not just serving people in Otter Tail County, but across the state of Minnesota.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce who you got for us? That would be great, in the order that you'd like.
Great. So I'll start off with Miss Tammy Anderson. I think we have, she's on Zoom. Both
There
of my
she is.
testifiers are on Zoom today.
Hi, Tammy.
Hello, good afternoon. It's nice to be here. Thank you for your time, Chairperson and Senator Rasmusson and members of the Human Services Committee. My name is Tammy Anderson, and I'm here today to express my support for SF 3106 amendment. I have the privilege of representing two nonprofit organizations that serve rural Minnesota and help those who dream of a life free from the grips of addiction. The first is the Matthew House, a residential recovery home for men serving the Fergus Falls area since 1997. The second, also located in Fergus Falls, is Barbara's House, which was established 2 years ago and provides a safe and supportive home for women on the recovery journey. Both homes offer stable housing and essential recovery support to individuals transitioning from treatment programs, incarceration, or homelessness. Many of our residents arrive with nothing more than the clothes on their back. Their challenges can be immense. I want to share some statistics of those we serve. 80% have been in jail or prison. 99% are living with substance use disorder, mental illness, or most of the times both. In 2024, of the 30 individuals we served, over 50% had been homeless at some point. 26% had dropped out of high school. 14% had attempted suicide. And a staggering 75% have lost a loved one to overdose or suicide. And yet they come to us with hope and a willingness to put in the hard work. It was just a couple weeks ago, a mom came up to me in a store and she grabbed my hand and she said, "Are you Tammy? Are you the lady that helps at the Matthew House?" I said, "Yep, I'm Tammy. I'm on the board and I'm also mentors at the house." She said, "Thank you so much." She goes, "The Matthew House saved my son's life. He would not be alive today if it wasn't for your program." And then she said, "Never in a million years, when you give birth to a child, do you look at that child and think, my son's going to grow up to be a drug addict. You're going to be raising his grandchildren." It's just nothing that she ever fathomed. But that mother never lost hope and her son never lost hope. Our programs are designed to turn that hope into lasting change. At our programs, we stabilize and support the recovery journey by maintaining an environment of safety, respect, and accountability. We develop life skills for independence, foster community integration and positive community connections, and provide employment and educational support and navigation. We also assist with the successful transition to permanent housing, along with continued access to critical mental health services and recovery support. And lastly, I want to tell you about Mike. Mike grew up in a home where drug use was normalized. By 16, he was addicted to meth. In his 20s, he was consumed by his addiction. And by 30, he had lost 6 close friends to overdose or suicide. And then he came to the Matthew House. There, Mike found something he had never had before, a safe place to heal, build positive relationships, and work toward a future. One of his goals was to find a job. He told us, "I was scared to find a job. I didn't think I could be good at anything. But the staff, mentors, and residents at Matthew House believed in me. They saw something in myself that I couldn't see in me." And that was really important for him because we believed in him. And Mike did it at 32. 32, he landed his very first job. And he's excelling. He has his own apartment and even lost over 50 pounds. He recently told us, "Work has given me a purpose and a reason to get up every day. It makes me feel more confident in myself, makes me feel good to be needed, and a paycheck is nice too. This is what SF 3106 amendment can help make possible again and again for people like Mike. Your support provides more than just resources. It opens doors. It helps people overcome the weight of their past, reclaim their future, and return to our Minnesota communities as stable, contributing members of society. Thank you for your time, your service, and thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Tammy Anderson. Thanks for telling us about Mike. Now you got, I think Hannah Frederick is next, Senator. So Hannah, welcome.
Okay, now I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
Okay, sorry about that. Good afternoon, Chair Hoffman, Senator Rasmusson, and members of the Human Services Committee. My name is Hannah Frederick. I'm a licensed graduate social worker and co-director of behavioral health and housing. I'm representing PERM 180 today, a program of Productive Alternatives, a private nonprofit organization. PERM 180 was started in collaboration with KLN Family Brands as an experimental model to provide temporary housing and employment to individuals who are reestablishing themselves in the community. When I designed this program, I knew it couldn't fit into a pre-existing box with funding sources, because with that funding came restrictions of who it would support. I didn't want barriers, including substance abuse, mental illness, or felonies, to keep an individual from a home and a chance at quality employment. Since we opened our doors in 2018, we have served more than 120 individuals from Otter Tail and 20 other counties. The people we support face some of the steepest barriers. Over 65% have felony on record, 78% were housing insecure, 99% have a substance abuse, mental illness, or dual diagnosis. And these are the individuals often overlooked by traditional housing supports and employment programs. What is different about our program is that we emphasize employment and purpose. When someone has a reason to get up in the morning doing something they're proud of, it improves mental health, builds self-worth, and creates the foundation for long-term housing stability. Our program is working. Today, 78% of our residents are employed. They provided over 100 hours of volunteer work. Nearly half have renewed their driver's license, a third gained private insurance, and 72% have maintained sobriety. Most importantly, 65% complete the program successfully with employment and secured housing. To date, most of our funding has been provided by Productive Alternatives, and that is why I'm here today to ask support in this amendment, providing 20 banked beds in Otter Tail County. This is critical for PERM 180 to fit into this mechanism already existing within the supplemental service rate to continue our services. Without the support to this amendment, people like Christina might not be on her third promotion with Kenny's Candy. Randy, who has had 7 felonies, wouldn't have moved into his own apartment. Jesse and Mike wouldn't be giving back to the community by starting 2 recovery meetings called Celebrate You and Progress is Perfection. And Shauna wouldn't be graduating this spring from college as an addiction counselor. Thank you for your time, your support, Chair Hoffman and the Human Service Committee. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Ms. Frederick. Thank you for all your work. PERM 180, well done. Very successful. So, members, any questions for the good senator from Fergus? It's a motion to do this to finance. You want it? What do you want to do with this, Jordan? You want to? This is going to be. You're going to lay this over. You're working on some. We're going to add this on Wednesday, or you adding it on the floor? What are you thinking? What do you want to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think we could lay this bill over and we consider it for inclusion on markup on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, so you'll bring an amendment then to add it. That would be my assumption.
Yes, and I think, Mr. Chair, I think the underlying bill before the amendment, I believe, is maybe already planning on being included in the delete everything, and then we can talk about the other piece on Wednesday.
Perfect. So thank you. As long as we
Thank you.
Good. We got a disposition. With that, we'll lay that one over and Senate File 3106. So Senator Rasmusson, next one up is we're going to do 1127. If you want to come in and let me talk about this bill, I'd appreciate that.
Senator Hoffman, Senate File 1127 is before the committee. Please present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Every few years, you run into people that kind of get it. You know, when you're talking to the average Joe about human services, they look at you with their glassy-eyed look, glazed over, and they're like, huh, right? Damon Leivestad was a mechanical engineer and a disability advocate from Plymouth, Minnesota. He was born with a neurological disorder known as spinal muscular atrophy. In the fall of 2017, he began working with SCIU, and a couple of years ago was working with the Minnesota Consortium of Citizens with Disabilities, and then the Direct Care Workforce Stakeholder Group up until his death in the fall of 2024. He was a fierce advocate within the community. He was incredibly smart. The first time I met him, he got into the weeds on rate methodology and PCA assurances and what about overnight hours. I mean, it was down a rabbit hole, Senator Rasmusson. I haven't seen since Senator Abeler our days with Rick Cardenas. And he's testified on our community on behalf of his bills a few times, and some of the bills passed last session. Well, what we have is Senate File 1127 contains the new ideas that came from Damon, along with the updated language from his outstanding bills and other bills that he championed during the 2024 session. What we did was to put his groups together, group thought together that he had on his bills, and through the help of deep technical assistance from the Department of Human Services and folks on this committee, we have in front of you. And I'd like to go through those if it'd be okay, Mr. Chair. But before we start, I'll never forget one day, so Senator Abeler, 12 years ago, you remember this guy wanted to line up cans of corn, and you said, we want to line up DWRS. We've got to get statues to line up, right? And this is probably one of my most amazing stories about feeling about the impact Damon had. Damon, 2 years ago, had some language that he was introducing David, and David was sitting there, and David gave it to Mr. Monahan to look at. And I'll never forget this moment when it was quiet in this room we were meeting, and all of a sudden, Mr. Monahan, you looked up at David and you said, I know what he's trying to do. And it was one of those moments that I'll never forget because it was joyful, because here was this guy who is a mechanical engineer who not only understood what human services was about, but he lived it, and he shared with us, and he wanted us to share that. So that's what this is. Section 1 in 1127 just names the bill after Damon. Section 2, we remove the asset limitations, or the asset limits on MAABD, right? Last year, the asset limits for MAEPD were removed, which would allow people with disabilities to work and save for the future. Unfortunately, if you quit working after the age of 65, you will transition from MAEPD to MAABD, which still has a $20,000 asset limit. This would mean that people would have to continue to work or would have to spend down the money they were able to save to remain eligible services. So it was, which hand is the rock in? Section 3, Senator Mayquade had a bill that she was working on with Damon that removes the premiums for the MAEPD. Last session, the parental fees for TEFRA were removed. That was something that was part of this committee's commitment to families. And in this case, Section 3 expands on this by removing the fees with people with disabilities or who are systematically forced to live at or near poverty levels to maintain eligibility for services critical for their survival. Damon made that a point. Why is it that we are systematically forced to live at or near poverty levels in order to maintain eligibility of services when we know that this is what's life-saving for a lot of us? Sections 4 and 6 and 10 was a bill that I had put together through with Damon that modifies the existing and adds new enhanced rate classifications. So if you look at sections 4 and 6 through 10, that creates an enhanced rate tier that's based on hours of support per day that would help ensure that those with complex needs, these are high acuity, low acuity, with complex needs, can find adequate care and continue to live and work in their communities. Isn't that what we're all about, right? Home care workers who earn an enhanced rate require additional training dependent on the client they work for, and also provide for labor-intensive work, those who work with clients with less severe disabilities. An enhanced rate is imperative for clients with 10 or more hours of care per day, but the current 7.5% is not enough. So there are only a few hundred clients in these upper tiers, so the additional cost would be minimal compared to the overall PCA budget. And you can see the description is it would be 107.5% of the rate paid to 10 to 14.75 hours per day, and then up to 117.5% of the rate paid to 20 or more hours per day. So that's just an adjustment, and again, it's only a few people within that category. Professional development rates, the lack of skilled training required for home care workers is often used as an argument for their low wages. And as I'm telling you this and I'm reading this, these are actually Damon's words when he described these bills to us, why he wanted to do what he wanted to do. An enhanced rate of 125% would pay PCA certified or licensed as an RN, LPN, CNN more per hour. This would draw, to Senator Abeler's point, more skilled people into the home care field. It would also create an incentive for current PCAs to get additional training. Together, this provides a pipeline of highly skilled and trained PCAs into the workforce. Damon knew there were 53,000 job openings in the caregiver bucket. He wanted to do something about it. This is one small way of starting to get to it, and I think it's an impact. And this came from a mechanical engineer. Did I tell you he was an engineer? I'm glad you're smiling. Weekend rate differential, the other thing that came up was a weekend rate differential. He knew it was very difficult to find staff for weekend shifts, and that can place clients in potentially dangerous situations. There's somebody we know, and I've said it before, he gets his pills on a Thursday, knowing that he might not have somebody to show up that weekend. It's Jimmy. We're talking about the same Jimmy. And it's like, that shouldn't be happening. He's independently living, but he just needs help getting out of bed. And if he sets his pills up for Thursday knowing he's going to spend the whole weekend in his bed because nobody's there to help him out, we say there's got to be a way to do a rate differential. So we create a higher weekend rate of 110% that should help clients fill open shifts and create a safer and more stable environment for their physical and emotional well-being. Again, words and actions from Damon. Overnight rate differentials, finding staff for overnight shifts can be challenging without adequate care overnight. Clients we know may face some potentially dangerous situations. So we created the overnight rate. There's 110% from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. that would help clients fill those open shifts and create a safer and more stable environment for the physical and emotional well-being. Senator Fatsa had a bill that he worked on with Damon. That enhanced rate should focus on the individual's client's needs. Imagine that. Focus on the individual needs. The current system is very difficult to access for English-speaking caregivers, as we heard in our first bill, and almost impossible for those who are non-English speaking. The skills learned completing the enhanced rate courses are simple, common sense classes such as personal care, basics of grooming and dressing, and don't teach the caregiver any specific advanced cares that enhanced rate client require. Caregivers who already have some of the required certificates as a CBR, BLS aren't allowed to use them because they're not from the American Heart Association or the American Red Cross. Think about that. They're not, because you didn't get it, a certain certification, but it has the same as this because it didn't come from them, that's not considered. So we're fixing that. Lastly, in section 11, is a direct care support in hospitals. Do you remember this conversation? We passed this last year, this waiver in our budget omnibus, but we did not do it for the PCA statutes. Damon pointed that out to us and said this one directs the Commissioner of Human Services seek to amend Minnesota's CFSS program to reimburse for the delivery of CFSS during an acute care stay in an acute care hospital setting. See the difference there? It's got to be acute stay, acute care. The reimbursement services must be identified on that person-centered support plan, be provided to meet the needs of the persons that are not met through the provision of hospital services and not a substitute service the hospital is obligated to provide. So there's no supplanting there, Senator Gruenhagen. And be designed to preserve the person's functional abilities during a hospital stay for the acute care to ensure smooth transitions between the acute care settings and home and community-based settings. These are Damon's work in his words, and so you know, when you talk about people that have made an impact, this gentleman did make an impact. Even up to his last week of life, he was on Zoom giving his input in with SEIU members about what their contract language, how should it be helpful, and about the work that they do within our bucket of caregiving. So, members. With that, I would love to have this laid over for possible inclusion, and I will answer any questions, or if you got comments about Damon, be free to do it.
Senator Gruenhagen.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thanks, John, for going through this, or Senator Hoffman.
It's all right, Glenn.
See, you know, in the
You're good.
governor's budget, he was cutting nursing homes by millions of dollars over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I see some reductions on yours. How does that compare?
Yeah, so we're not
Senator
on that.
Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're not talking about my, the budget layout, Glenn, which we'll get into when we talk about. This is specifically the Damon Leivestad Act. This is a separate bill that we're doing. This is about the individual that had done so much. So if you look at Senate File 1127, which is the last bill that we're being heard today, that's what we're talking about. And within that, he was a fierce advocate for the community, and he was incredibly smart, Glenn. That's why we put this bill, which is separate. We want this bill to be laid over, which you guys are going to do. So does that answer that question?
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman.
No, you're good, Glenn.
Any member discussion on Senate File 1127?
Here it is.
Senator Uckey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, Senator Hoffman would not be happy if I didn't ask him, what does the bottom line on this bill look like? Because you are expanding stuff. Do you have any idea at this point?
Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Aki. We're still waiting on that fiscal note, I believe. Is that correct, David and Kyle? We did put a priority on this, and we got the language corrected, and I think we're still waiting on that. So I don't think it'll be that much, you know, as far as like, it's a lot of stuff, but because of how sophisticated it was, how he wrote it, it really has not that big of an impact. It's like, if you look at the one program, we're talking about 100 people that we're addressing. So it's those acute care only. So unless Mr. Raymond has an update on that fiscal note.
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Hoffman, so I believe the fiscal note has been released, or is public, and it is the fiscal note is drafted only to Section 11 of the bill, and so the cost for that would be $4.4 million in the first biennium and just over $7 million in the tails.
Any additional member discussion?
That's great.
Before we lay the bill over. Okay. Seeing none, Senate File 1127 is laid over for possible inclusion in the Omnibus bill.
Thank you. Senator Ashton, thank you. Members in front of you is the Senate Human Services Budget Bill. Oops. And that includes our work, the thoughtful policy and budget changes that are data-driven and person-centered. If you really look at this one, it balances the investment in direct care support workers and substance use providers through rate increases with formula fixes that promote high-quality care and sustainable growth. This bill corrects licensing and billing issues to ensure businesses working in human services sector are held accountable. Family caregivers can access more support through the expanded respite care options and allowing direct care workers to assist when a loved one is in acute care setting. was kind of the conversation that Senator Abeler had 15 years ago, right? Senate File 3054 officially pauses the Waiver Reimagine project for a year. We're buying that for a year, gentlemen and folks on the committee here. Waiver Reimagine for a year requires that home care nursing be included in the future proposals. It also aims to address the backlog of min choices assessment and disability determination through the program modernization and flexibility. This will open up access to disability services for Minnesotans across the state. The bill provides targeted financial assistance to nursing homes in greater Minnesota and invests in a broad range of senior programming. Grants will help community leaders address the issues facing their neighbors and loved ones. This also supports innovation like the Disability Inclusion Pilot Program and our Care Hub. The bill does not include any provisions that had not been weighed against the impact of the changes. We were given a hard target. The budget focuses on the people who work in the industry, and most importantly, it centers the people who access disability and aging services. There are reasons why we do this work, right? And one of the things I want us to think about is the caps or cuts are across the board, affecting everyone. I tried not to pick any favorites in there, so Glenn, to answer your question, I know we're at about 30% of what the governor's budget proposal, but I will get those specific percentages for us Wednesday so we can look to see, how we lay this across. Because when we first heard, of the governor's $1.5 billion, right, out of $2.3 billion was coming out of our bucket, which is 65%. You remember that, Glenn? 25, 65. We went, the committee, and as your chair, I went to the corner office and I said, 25.7%, absolutely. Anything north of that, it's going to be hard for us to really do anything. And if you look at the second year spreadsheet, we're at 24.7%. So I want to thank John Marty and Eric Nauman for keeping their promise to me about if we're going to be tightening our belts, we're going to do it fairly across for every agency, right? And so that same mentality we tried to put into this budget conversation. If we're missing the boat on that, we got all day Wednesday. Let's spend a couple of days and really look at that, right? Because it's an exercise. Because our battle isn't here. Our battle's going to be across the street, like Senator Abeler just said early on, right? And so what it is that we're bringing to the table, is it going to be leverage enough to be able to get them to come our way? Because if they come our way, we're doing good, right? If we go their way, not so much. And so today is just a walkthrough of the spreadsheet because I really needed to attempt to be as balanced as possible. There were two filters that I used. 14 years ago, in my office on University Avenue, a certain state rep and I sat down and he said, my first filter is I don't want anybody to die. Do you remember that, Senator Abeler? That was, I'll never forget that conversation. And as I looked at this, it was like, how can we make strategic cuts to make sure that services are not disrupted? Services to the individual are not disrupted. That was my first filter. And the second one was staying within our target, which I got to admit, it was hard, but to get them to say, we heard you. They heard this committee talk about being fair. So we're being fair. So we're still waiting, folks, also on a few fiscal notes, like a whole bunch. So if you are getting one in, we're still waiting on those. There'll still be some more work to be done on Wednesday. And by the time, I know Senator Abeler, you talked about, we got finance, we got finance, and we got the floor. So there's 3 other stops we can do to make sure our package is full when we go to battle against the, no, I shouldn't use that. When we go to talk about the exercise with the other body. So today we're walking through that in the spreadsheet. And I think any testimony, amendments to be considered, right, and markup will be on Wednesday as we're going to do any of that stuff, except for the amendments that we had early on. But I think we're there. Senator Abeler.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the challenge of this budget. Many people were around in 2011. Many people in the room were not. But so welcome to the small club of people that have to go through this. So just as we go through the bill, do you want us to ask questions on each line, and would that be the most effective way?
I think, I don't know, it says Mr. Raymond is going through, absolutely. I mean, you know, if that, you think that flows with us, then I think we're good. So members' thoughts, Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do think we'll need quite a bit of time on Wednesday to just go through the bill as well and consider testimony because we just got this spreadsheet just a little while ago ahead of the committee hearing, so haven't necessarily had a chance to digest it. One question I did have, just to make sure I understand, a lot of this has been in governor proposals or in other bills that have been submitted, but I just wanted to, before I forgot, looking at line 154 in the spreadsheet, I was wondering if Mr. Raymond could explain what that is before we start marching through the spreadsheet, just because we don't have a bill number and it also wasn't in the governor's proposal.
Are you looking at we haven't even done our delete all, so the A1 hasn't even been introduced yet. Do you want to?
Mr. Chair, this is, on the spreadsheet, it's page 2, line 154 to 157. And the title of this is Adjust the Nursing Facility Total Care-Related Payment Rate Limit.
Yep. So do you want to address that before the A1's moved, or, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Raymond. Or what should be the proper procedure? Should I make the motion to move the A1 amendment first, or do you want to talk about that?
I can briefly touch on it. I was planning, Mr. Chair, I was planning on addressing that as I walk through the spreadsheet, but can do that now. Okay. So line 154, adjust nursing facility total care related payment rate limit. I guess I'll just give a high-level description, and then perhaps Mr. Monahan can fill in any details. But currently, under value-based reimbursement, nursing facilities' care-related payments are limited based on their quality. So this is determined using their quality score, which DHS calculates. So under the current rate methodology, most nursing facilities are significantly under their care-related spending limits. And then the proposal alters the formula that will change the amount of facilities that will have the effect of changing the amount of facilities that are under the limit. So currently, per DHS data, it's 18 facilities are under the quality limit computation, and then under this proposal, they're projecting that it would be 110 facilities annually.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. So members, the A1 amendment is in front of us. It's a delete all. You want to keep talking, or do you want to go ahead and get the language in front of us, Senator? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the rush is. It would be, in my opinion, it'd be suitable to describe the A1 amendment in terms of this. So when we vote on it, we'll actually.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, I mean, I just think I wouldn't pass it, even pass it Wednesday if you want. There's nothing urgent about doing that, but I think it'd be appropriate. It's an author's amendment, but it's not the classic, like, author's amendment that, there's a lot of meat to that you want us to digest.
No, I'm fine.
I don't think we're going to stop you from adopting it, and I'll support you adopting your amendment, even though I don't like all of it, but I think it just.
Would you rather have 3054 in front of you, Senator? No.
Does that make sense? Let's just describe so maybe this.
Let's have these guys walk through. Let's have these guys walk through everything, and then we'll adopt at the end. I think we've done that in the past like that, right? You want to do that?
I think that'd be wonderful.
And then we can get into Wednesday and really work up on stuff.
And I just have some more questions about that line 150, whatever it is, when you get there. So thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. So Mr. Raymond, do you want to just give us your overview of the budget? Senator Rudke's got a question first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And you probably maybe don't have the answer, or you can work on it later, whatever. But I would like to know, I mean, we're looking at FY 27 or 26, 27, and of course 28, 29 in the spreadsheets. And then the 25 is coming off the forecast. But is there, at some point, can we get what was the budget going into FY 24-25 previously? So we kind of know where we're coming from and where this is taking us. So if you know any of that as you go, great, but probably we can get it from you later. But it gives us, so we know what's happening from what we've come through.
As you go through your presentation, that's a great question. What is the base that we're coming from for 24-25 and working forward? So, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, I'm Kyle Raymond, fiscal analyst to this committee. So today I'll be walking through the Human Services spreadsheet, reflecting, well, actually I'll start by just giving a broad overview of this spreadsheet. Members who have been in this committee have seen it before, but there are some new members who may not be familiar, as both this committee and Health and Human Services spreadsheet is a little different than other committees. So this first page contains largely summary information. The left-hand set of columns includes descriptive information. The center set of columns includes the governor's proposal, or the governor's budget, excuse me. And then the right-hand side reflects what is currently in the A1 amendment. So I will just note that I'm working off of the spreadsheet with a timestamp. So the date is April 7th with a timestamp of 12:47 p.m. Just for purposes of line references. So I'll start off by just saying first to Senator Aki's question. So,
Well, just ours says 12:58. So if it's basically the same, just so you know, we're working off a different one. So.
Shows you, when I came down to see you, you know, Jim, just prior to this, that's when we finally got all the language and the budget in front of us.
So, Mr. Chair, thank you for that, Senator Abeler. I drafted all of my notes to this sheet, but it is exactly the same in terms of there was one wording change that I made that is reflected. So all the numbers in the 1258 version are identical to what I have here. To start again, to Senator Aki's question, so we do have some information to that effect included on lines 6 through 8. So this has the general fund appropriations for all agencies that are within this committee's jurisdiction. So if you look at line 6, that is the general fund base. So you can see it both by year and by biennium. So you can see that the base for this general fund base for this committee is just over 17 billion in the first biennium and just under 19.3 billion in the tails. And then line 7 shows the effect of either the governor's proposal or the DE, the A1 amendment, the effect of that on the base, or excuse me, the effect of those, and then line 8 shows it netted out, the base plus the incremental change as provided in each proposal or each bill.
Mr. Raymond, do you happen to have 24-25 on the top of your head to Senator Utke's point from early on? Do you remember what those numbers were?
I'm not sure. I can follow up later with that information. So are you looking for the 24-25 base budget amounts? Okay, I can follow up with that information.
Good, thank you. Does everybody understand what we're doing? Jim's over there. Yeah, we're good. Keep going.
Mr. Chair, members, so the sheet on lines 12 through 19, this shows the all funds total and a breakdown as provided in the bill. So I will point to line 13. It has the general fund total, and you can see in reference to line 10 that if you combine the 25, 26, and 27 amount, it matches the target of reductions of 272 million in the first biennium. And then again, looking at line 13, the 28 and 29 totals equal the 430 million reduction in the tails. The The remainder of the information on the first
And
page.
Mr. Raymond, just to do a compare contrast here, and members, if you see on that line 12, if you look at the governor 2829, it's $1,187,470 versus 430 million. So 1,187 million. So isn't that a nice? This looks like the other bodies that's $1 billion is in their number. So we're working at. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Keep on.
Mr. Chair, members, as I was saying, from line 50 through line 107 on page 1 is summary information broken. It's by agency and by fund totals that are reflected in the incremental changes in the budget.
Any questions on that, members? Nope.
So moving to page 2, so this is the proposals that are included in the budget. So I'll note a couple things before jumping in. The order of these proposals, to the extent possible, align with what is in the bill index, which is reflective of what is the language currently in the bill. So the bill index that Mr. Monahan provided, that I believe is in your packets, has a bit of additional information about each proposal that's reflected on the spreadsheet. There are some exceptions where that wasn't possible. I'll also note here that if an item has either a pound or a hashtag sign, then that is a budget neutral proposal that is included in either the governor's or the DE, the A1. And then I'll also mention here that the appropriations article and as well as some language that needs to be stricken to reflect the changes in the spreadsheet are not currently included in the DE, but are forthcoming. All right, and with that, I'll go ahead and start with the Department of Human Services on line 135, nursing facility payment system changes. So this is a governor's proposal. The DE funds this proposal at a slightly modified version of this proposal. So this proposal includes the payment-driven payment model case mix systems classification changes. It also repeals automatic annual alternative payment system property rate inflation. It includes the governor's proposal related to planned closure rate agreements, single bed incentives, and layaways, and it does put in place the health insurance cap included included in the governor's budget. However, the main difference, the biggest part of that proposal, the governor's proposal, was a 2% cap on operating expenses year over year. So the bill, not before the committee, the A1 amendment is limits operating growth to 4% per year. And there's one caveat. There was a repeal of an exemption for nursing facility in Golden Valley under 256R 53. So that repeal of that exemption is not included.
So can I explain that? In Golden Valley is that we're talking about the Courage Kenny Center. Is that correct, Mr. Raymond? Isn't that the Courage Center?
I believe so.
Yeah, which is always, there's only one of a kind in the state of Minnesota. And just so you guys are doing a compare contrast, if you look at line 136, look at years 28, 29 versus for the governor, and yours is 28, 29 for the, delete all that I have in there. That's half. And in this case, he eliminates Courage Center. I believe we got the right numbers. Dalton's putting his thumb up. Yes, it is. And that's one of those programs that you only use it if you really need it, right? And I don't think of any other one that's been there, but it's been there for years. So, Senator Abeler?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And part of what you have to do is there's some things we're just not going to do. That's one of those things you're just never going to do. Could you describe somebody, line 142? That looks like a different feature. And those next two are Senate only.
Yep, 43.
Maybe they were covered, I just didn't understand it.
Mr. Raymond?
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, so yes, that's correct. So the lines 142 and 143 are the 4% operating limit with that one nursing facility, the exemption for it backed out of that. So then the lines 141 and, or excuse me, 140 and 141 on the governor's, you can see that they're much larger. So those include the limit as well as a couple of other items. So those, the non-limit related are included in the DE on line 140 and 141, but I separated out the 4% limit on lines 142 and 143.
That's helpful. It's good that we have people who are good at math, Mr. Chair.
And I'm glad he brought 140, 141. If you look at those numbers, you know, we shrunk that, you know, if we would accept the governor's proposal, that's just not, you know, 161 million versus 31 million. And then we made some adjustments in order to make it, again, spread it across, Jim. That was the,
So, Mr.
that was
Chair,
the hope.
This is like an intervention budget. We're trying to avoid harm, like trying to stop bad things from happening by a very well-intended person.
It was the only thing
Did I say it nice?
on our mind. Thank you. You did. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so I'll next move to line 145. So this establishes an age-friendly Minnesota council and also provides additional community and technical grant funding. So this has a cost of about 2.7 million in the first biennium and about 3.8 in the tails. So I'll move next to line 154. As we previously discussed, this proposal adjusts the nursing facility total care related payment rate limit. And this produces a reduction in future expected expenditures relative to the forecast in the first biennium of about 26.3 million and just over 40 in the tails. And I'll pause there because
So, Mr. Chair.
questions.
Senator Abeler.
So far, I think you're still winning the contest between the base bill and your amendment, and this probably still keeps you ahead. But
Yep.
so there's 110 places included now with a limit where before there were 18.
8. Yeah, 18. You're correct.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep track.
All right.
So we'll understand this later, I guess. And but how do you decide? I'm not familiar with this. Should I have been more familiar with this if I was paying better attention, or is this something that's a new thing?
Yeah, it's you know, if we have any other options to that on Wednesday, I guess.
Let me just philosophically. So
Yeah.
So there's some people are getting more money than other places, and
Yep.
they have excess rates.
Correct.
And this is bringing them down to the 80th percentile or something. Or
That's correct. It's to equalize it. Mr. Raymond, actually, Mr. Monahan, do you want to?
I think it's like that.
Mr. Monahan, line that can of corn up for Mr. Abeler, Senator Abeler.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, the way VBR is currently set up, when a nursing facility incurs care-related costs, the department does a calculation to determine that facility's quality. And think of a graph with a sloped line on it. The lower your quality, the lower your limit. The idea was to incentivize high-quality facilities, disincentivize low-quality facilities. The proposal in the bill changes the slope of the limit so that lower quality facilities their limit is reduced. And the point is to drive them to higher quality, because if they're driven to higher quality, their limit will go up. If they remain low quality, their spending will be capped.
Okay.
So that's what the proposal does. It's changing the slope of that line.
Yeah.
Reform.
It's interesting. So just if you're really having a hard time, it's going to be harder. But I get the quality thing. And so, Mr. Monahan, if you can just help me with, we're almost done with the nursing home part, but with the reductions of the governor and the proposed one here, people are paid 18 months or 20 months later. If you cap the number at 2 or 4%, if the people spent the money and are hoping to get it back, is there some money they're not going to get back in the future rates that they expected they were going to be getting? Is that a fair question?
Mr. Monahan, and then Senator Utke's got a follow-up question to that.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, I would suspect that would be the case.
Thanks. And Mr. Chair, just,
Yeah.
this is the beginning, and I'm not being critical. I sat in your chair. When we did the governor's budget in 2011, there were 60 testifiers. I was not glib because we had 90 testifiers on my bill, and most of them were not happy. So I totally get it. So at the end deal, if we're going to do anything to nursing homes, it'd be nice if we could push out the horizon so at least they can get the money that they've spent thinking they're going to be getting. Just a thought. So that may or may not be possible.
No, and Jim and Senator Utke had raised that question too, and then in the back of my mind, I just kept saying, what do we need to go, what do we need to, this is the best we're gonna have, right? It's like, what do we need to do? What's gonna leverage us? Real reform, real conversations are gonna do that. So, you know, that was my whole methodology on that. So Senator Utke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll just, a quick question and we can move on too. But it appears, I mean, lower rated nursing homes are going to get less money. To me, that's just a quick incentive. We're going to incentivize them to lock their doors. Typically, they're probably not doing what they should. And there's always a bad operator, but in most cases, they're running on such a skinny already. They're only offering what they absolutely can. The VBR helps, but when you get your money 18, 24, 30 months after you've spent it, you can't afford to borrow the money and keep cash flowing that. So that's why I do have a concern as I'm listening to this, that we're going to take those lower rated ones and even make it harder for them. Because I think in the end, we're going to lose them completely. And unfortunately, Senator Gruenhagen isn't here to talk about a few of those, and he already knows.
The two, Arlington and, the ones we were talking about.
So it is a concern, but I know we'll move forward. We'll have Wednesday to really dig into this to see what we're going to do.
And I think between there and then, I mean, again, how are we leveraging ourselves to what the other body and what the governor's doing is going to be the other question to ask. Like, okay, let's get it right. Let's talk to the folks that, because like you asked a question and you and I both said, can we shrink the VBR? And of course, folks said, yep, it's going to cost. You know, it's going to cost, right?
Yep.
And then there were some provisions. You had some language. It was like, right? I think you had said, this is not going to work the way it sits, but we're going to keep working on it, right? Because it would be nice to be able to, like you said, shut it to 90 days or whatever it is, and then move forward. So don't lose those conversations. Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm looking forward to digging in and understanding a little bit more on what this item regarding VBR does and how it impacts nursing homes. And I guess, Mr. Chair, as a follow-up on that, heading into Wednesday, can we get a list of the affected nursing homes? Is that something that you have available?
Mr. Raymond, I don't.
Mr. Chair, Senator Rasmusson, I don't have a list, but we could reach out to the department to see.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. I think that'll be helpful. And again, one of my critiques of VBR is that it's really not VBR, it's more cost-based reimbursement, and the kind of value piece has never really come to fruition. So I'm just interested in learning more about this proposal and what it ultimately does.
And that's where that whole conversation, that whole conversation was in there, right? It's like, we've struggled with that. What does VBR really mean, right? And is it working? Well, here's what we do know. We still have 53,000 job openings in our caregiver bucket, right? So keep going with that. I would think your conversation between now and Wednesday might include Elise Bailey and people like that, right? So, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, I will just briefly, I was able to look up the 24-25 base amount numbers to your question, Senator Aki. For this committee, the general fund base is in the 24-25 biennium is $15.092 billion. And then in 26-27, as shown on the first page of the spreadsheet, it goes to 17.032 billion, and then in the tails goes to 19.248 billion. So that's the base, not accounting for any increments as provided in the A1.
And that would make sense, Senator Akis. You remember we did 2 years ago, it was the first time in history we increased the amount of money specifically on those waivered programs that we know needed help, right? Elderly waiver raised by 40%. So does this seem accurate to you when you look at that? Does that make sense on where we went with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of nice to put it in perspective. We are increasing $2 billion with what we got in front of us.
Yep.
You know, too many times, and yes, there are reductions, but we talk about the cuts, but yet it is going up $2 billion, so it's kind of shifting. Where does it fall?
Exactly. Thank you. Thanks for that point. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so moving now, just to reorient, on page 2 of the spreadsheet, line 159, this is from Senate File 1948 and provides additional funding to CANF, Critical Access Nursing Facility Program. And it's funded at about 5.8 in the first biennium million, and then 3.2 million in the tails. And also note here on line 162, there is identified some nursing facility payment underspend from the from 2023 that is set to potentially cancel. So that amount is offset in the proposal.
So, and members, if you look at that, we know that CANF, which Senator Abeler had put CANF in place, our committee funded CANF 2 years ago, and we put money in it last year. And we know some of the smaller nursing homes, specifically, I remember Maskowski, I can't, if I remember that, from on the Iron Range, counted on $400,000 a year just to keep his doors open on that. CANF is going to be something that is utilized and needed in our critical access nursing facilities out in our greater Minnesota. So we wanted to move a little bit more money into that, as you can see that. So that just explains that. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, now moving on again on page 2 to line 164. So this funds the Nursing Home Workforce Standards Board's rules, and the cost of this in the first biennium is $6,000, and in the tails is about $14.7 million.
That was a global agreement that the other body, I didn't realize it was members here until I was told by my CA, and I was told that it was a global agreement from the other body's two chairs who said this and the other thing. So basically, I guess all the corner offices signed off on this, and so that's what you see in front of you. But I didn't know. Imagine that, Senator Abeler. Did you know everything?
Mr. Chair, I did not see the white smoke. When they get a new pope, there's white smoke. The black smoke when they burn the old ballast, when they get white smoke. We're on the way then, Mr. Chair. Huh? We can just go home. There's global agreement on
There's global agreement. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Raymond. In my sarcasm, there's a lot of anger and grief and all sorts of stuff. So I hope it's not coming out as such.
Mr. Chair, members, so moving on to page 3, line 172. This is from Senate File 813, Integrated Community Supports Approval Process Report, as well as it also has a temporary moratorium, approval moratorium. So there are administrative costs associated with this proposal that are funded in the DE that are $314,000 in the first biennium and $228,000 in the tails. Moving next to line 187, this is a governor's proposal. It was also in Senate File 2640. This funds the self-directed worker bargaining agreement. The proposal, I should note here that the proposal is funded at the full amount in fiscal year 26-27 of just over $70.2 million. and just over 55 million in the tails. I'll note there is one difference between the two, and it's just there was some potential underspend related to retention bonuses and orientation spending from the prior bargaining agreement from 2023 that we're at risk of potentially canceling and are canceled in this bill.
So members, you see what he did there? We actually found savings to be able to pay for that, which, by the way, this was an agreement that I didn't find out about until after I got a text from the other body and my CA told me. It's not that I would, just didn't know.
Thank you,
Senator.
Mr. Chair. I'll put a little asterisk by this one then. So I just have a question. So I appreciate that, and I actually support the self-directed bargaining workers stuff. Do you know, did the governor or did you find any money to fund the other non-union parts of this? And I presume there's some base funding.
Senator,
Does Kyle know if is there a base increase for like the non-union people?
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. Are you talking about within this proposal?
No, well, just because Ms. Senator Hoffman, you remember we spent a year getting a straight answer out of the department. Like, is this going to pay for?
They have to pay it. They're going to pay it. No,
Yeah.
is there reimbursement on it?
There's rates and there's pay. I think Mr. Monahan could, I don't want to do that again, but anyway, so finally the department, it was clear that they put so much aside for this topic, and this much was taken up by the agreement, and then everything else just went to whoever to survive the best they could. So,
that's correct.
And just, Mr. Raymond, if you can just, it'd be interesting to know, or just instructive about what the other funding goes up, and are they limited by any of these limits? So, thank you. Because we do we need all of them, Mr. Chair.
We do, and imagine if we would have, again, Senator Abeler, there's probably not going to find it like we had the last time. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so I can follow up with that information. So then continuing with the spreadsheet, moving to page 4, line 210, this is a governor's proposal that establishes a provisional EIDBI provider license as well as funds administrative oversight. So the two numbers are different. However, it is only due to one slight modification made in the DE. In the governor's proposal, there was licensing fees and application fees that went into the state government special revenue fund. So then in the DE, that money is spent to attempt to offset some of the costs included in the proposal.
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Mr. Raymond. As a part of this EIDBI provider license, are there any savings that are booked in terms of utilization? Or, I mean, the whole idea as presented by the department was this is going to crack down on bad actors and make sure that people that are billing for these services that aren't providing them aren't going to be getting public dollars. Is there anything in the governor's proposal or in the DE that would recognize or capture any savings from utilization?
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Rasmusson, no, there are not. The only costs in the bill are there's revenue related to the licensing and application fee, and then there's systems costs, OIG costs, and other administrative costs for the department.
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Raymond or Mr. Monahan, but do you know when this licensing would go into effect? When would providers have to be licensed by?
Mr. Raymond.
Or Mr. Monahan? Or I can take a look too.
I think we had it,
but
2640.
And Mr. Chair, my only point is, I mean, how this was presented, I think, and how members of this committee are thinking about this is that you're going to hopefully find some savings within this bucket of money by making sure that, you know, the dollars are going where they're supposed to go and are going to providers who are actually providing the services. And so that would just be, Mr. Chair, as we continue through the process, would just encourage, you to work with DHS to try to see what those savings could be so that we can recognize it in this proposal.
And well, that brings up that whole conversation. It was like, you know, you even talked about access and utilization. That's still a conversation that goes on. It's like, and then we start getting into the, you know, acuity, high, low. What does real reform look like, right? I mean, it's going. So, Mr. Monahan.
Mr. Chair, Senator Rasmusson, in the A1 amendment, and I believe in the underlying bill, the department will begin issuing provisional licenses on January 1, 2026, and providers will be required to operate under the provisional license until such time as the department has developed a comprehensive licensing structure, and it looks like they're shooting for January 1st, 2028.
Mr. Chair, do you enjoy bananas?
Did I what?
Do you enjoy eating bananas? Well, I do.
I don't.
I'm like, every day I eat a banana.
You like carrots too, though. I mean,
Well, yeah, organic is the best. But, you know, sometimes I try to judge the ripeness of my bananas, and sometimes you get ones that are too green, you got to wait. And so I was eating a banana one morning, and it just wasn't, it was green, but I thought, it's probably okay, because I'm sure it's ripe inside.
pretty tart.
Yeah, and I ate it, and it wasn't at all good, Mr. Chair. It was too green to eat. And so I think this proposal is like that banana. And I think that as a Senate, we can help them improve upon this to make it more functional and focused. And I'm willing to work on that. There's a number of things we can do that are kind of straightforward. There are some people already who are highly credentialed, psychologists and the BCBAs, who already work under a very restrictive system in CTSS that I think we can craft something, and that way you won't have to spend all that money. So I'm happy to work on that, Mr. Chair, and bring you a ripe banana.
On the EIDBI, this is what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Okay, all right. I'll send my.
Well, the banana.
When you multitask so many times and everything's just shot at you and you get, you know.
And no one mentioned bananas before?
Nobody mentioned bananas, you know. Well, they did use an anti-Semite language, you know, in my office toward me, and I was.
Which I'd say, that's horrible, Mr. Chair.
It's to the core. It's
I
just,
think it's like just inexcusably horrible to do that.
and I'm sitting here going, why would anybody, anyway, so my mind is spinning and I'm thinking about, what would Kerry Dietzig do? What would David Tomasoni do? What would Jim Abeler do 14 years ago? So I got paused for a second when you were talking, but absolutely, I heard the conversation that Jim and you said, I got some ideas on this, so please, absolutely.
Yes. I'll keep you apprised.
Go with it as we move forward, because it'd be nice to take to the other body an actual reform language that's going to be looking and working the way it should. So,
Well, Mr. Chair, my goal is to get ready for the floor with your aid.
oh, absolutely. No, I think that's what we do here, right? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
but
Thank
then,
you.
okay.
Thank you.
Nope, you're good. Thank you for doing that. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, now moving, still on page 4, moving to line 228. This is from Senate File 2596 and establishes supports competency program and also modifies the positive supports qualifications. This proposal is has a cost of $698,000 in the first biennium and $6,000 in the tails. Moving next to line 234, this is from Senate File 446. So this would modify the settings requirements for out-of-home respite care services for children. This proposal has a cost of just over $1.3 million in the first biennium and just over $2.5 million in the tails. Moving next to line 239, this is from Senate File 1177, and this funds the Disability Services Technology and Advocacy Expansion Grant. So this is funded in the DE at $500,000 in the first biennium, and that is ongoing. Moving next to line 245, this is from Senate File 2598. So this implements an abbreviated annual reassessments for individuals receiving disability waiver services. This has a systems cost of $63,000 in the first biennium and is one time.
Mr. Chair. Well, I'll just do two at once.
That was one of those, that was one of those, oh, there's a fiscal note that came in, it's 63,000.
Well, Mr. Chair, yeah, and
That's good.
so just on the good news part, it's really good we can do the respite care thing.
Yeah.
That is really a good thing, and I hope that can hold up. Some of the things you really hope can stay. I know there's some things you put in here like, well, I hope we can keep that one. I hope we can keep that one.
So I think as we go into this, once we get something that we can all get behind on the Senate floor, knowing the strategy is about, now what does that mean going into the next conversation, and to those points, will you make sure that,
Well, we just heard so many stories about respite and,
Yep.
and it saves money, but Mr. Chair, the quality of life for the people involved.
That's if you believe in
How much can we value
dynamic
that?
scoring, Jim. I guess we don't do that here.
Well, it would be like humane scoring. The other part, thanks for finding the money for the 63,000, but that's a $200 million program.
Yeah.
It just seems like in that kind of money that we shouldn't have to pay for a way to actually help them spend less. Because if we go with the abbreviated one, there's going to be much less work on the end of the people that are doing this. Just a thought. So for now, you can keep it there, but thanks.
That's almost like that, one of the things, the Care Hub, we talk about there's going to be cost savings there, and we know, there's a line item in here on that, and, right? So we tried. Go ahead, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, now moving to page 5, line 249. So this is a new proposal that modifies the nursing facility level of care for CADI and BI waivers. This is from I believe it's from the index, but so this proposal, so it specifies that for the BI and CADI waiver, being at risk of nursing home placement because the person lives alone or will become homeless is not sufficient to meet the level of care, and so some other criteria would have to be met. So this proposal reduces future expected expenditures by just over $3 million in the first biennium and just over $72 million in the tails.
Mr. Chair.
Senator.
So is this for people on CADI and BI in a nursing facility, or is this changing something some other way? And Howard, just so you could describe it, this was not in our bill, right? Is this something that came up in the dialogue?
Yeah, this was in that conversation, and it was like offsetting on what? So, Mr. Monahan.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler. Currently, there are roughly 7 criteria that are used to assess a person to determine whether they meet the level of care for a nursing facility. Under current law, you only have to meet one of those criteria to qualify. So by removing the one that speaks about being at risk of becoming homeless or losing your current housing situation, that's removed only for the purposes of BI and CADI.
So, Mr. Monahan, repeat that statement. Only for the purposes of BI and CADI. So, okay, just think about that, because this is a group. Again, if they don't fit that, there's another system out there that people should be in. So, Mr. Monahan.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler. So as Chair Hoffman described, the intention of the chair is to allow people with high acuity, high needs to stay on the BI and CADI waiver, but to eliminate using those waivers. I'm hesitant to put it quite this way, but as a homelessness program.
Which we established last year. You remember this committee?
Yeah, no, this is,
And sorry, Mr. Chair. I regret having just said that.
No.
But because it's more complicated than that. But the idea is to keep the waivers targeted at people with high acuity.
Thank you, and Mr. Chair.
Senator, I'm not.
And Mr. Monahan, I thank you for
It's very good.
your best efforts. I get it, and I understand you're a little bit, I don't understand a bit of your passion about all this stuff. I know you really care about it. I can't believe you remember all this stuff. And so, Mr. Chair, at the end of all this, what we had to do in 2011 was some of that same stuff. And sometimes there's a mission creep, I think, that's happening in some of these waivers, particularly in the caddy.
Yeah.
When you look at the growth, and like, how did so many people not need this, and then suddenly here they go? And so I think it would behoove us, back when we had Kevin Goodnow in 2001 or something unlocked the waivers, and there was a growth of, I think, 4,000 people that went to waivers, from 8,000 to 12,000 in the DD waiver. I was just looking at it.
1999.
Back in 2001 or so.
Yeah.
And now there's, I think, 100,000 people in waivers for various things. And I think the waivers are meant for people that have really considerable and severe needs. And we have other programs that hopefully will catch the safety net there. But if we're having to decide things like, shall we put a nursing home at risk of closing, or shall we terminate this program, which people know and appreciate for their particular loved ones? Should we underfund home care with people who aren't in a union, and I'm a union fan? Those are the decisions we have to make, and where can we best serve the people that count on us? So anyway, I appreciate that, and I will look more at this, and I wish we weren't on this track, but I think we need to, essential, important, and nice, we talked about in 2011, and it keeps you up nights. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, we even, that discussion even got into, when you're asking for nursing supervision, right? That's one of the services within CADI, Jim, too. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? Why is it, it's the access and utilization piece. It's really, what else are we doing in there? And this was, when you say, because I asked the hard questions, if this happens, then are we just, are they now part of the Wilder Foundation's, which we need to fund? That homeless study really tells us a lot. The majority of people that are homeless, intellectual disability, developmental disability, substance, mental health. No, if that's the case, if they're at risk for homelessness, we have a system over here that they should be immediately going to, right? That should be put in there. That doesn't necessarily mean it's CADI waiver. You're not waiving your right to institutional care. You're waiving, you need to be looking at where in the right path are you. That was the discussion. So thank you for acknowledging that. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so now continuing again on page 5, line 253. So this is a governor's proposal that specifies tribes are an eligible targeted case management provider and is included in the DE. Moving next to line 255, this is a governor's proposal of a series of proposals related to reducing expected disability waiver expenditures. So the governor's proposal had a number of sub-proposals for residential services. So limiting billing for residential services to 351 days, limiting access to all customized living for people under 55, and there's also a residential overnight staffing reform study. Those are not included in the DE. There's one modified provision that is included in the DE. So this is the governor's budget had a lead agency residential share of 5%, and the DE includes a 2% residential share, or residential services county share. And this would decrease state expenses by $33.6 million in the first biennium and 83.4 roughly in the tails. Moving next to line 269, so this is a governor's proposal related to day and unit-based services, So this proposal is funded at the governor's level, which reduces expected disability waiver expenditures by 46.1 million in the first biennium and 113.8 million in the tails.
Senator Abeler.
I have to admit, I've not studied the governor's proposal as much as I might have. And it's lucky because if I would have studied them all, some things are not in here, Mr. Chair. So I would have wasted my time. But on this one, I should have read. So just without, I should have known this, but just, Mr. Kyle, can you just, what does this do for day services? Is this like the DTNHs and the DACs and stuff? And what does it do to them, just so I can understand?
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, so this has like a proposal, the AAD-96 has three main components. So one is a daily cap of 8 hours for IHS with training services under the HCBS waivers, and then it reduces the absence and utilization factors for day services from 9.4 to 3.9, and then it also establishes a new night supervision service asleep rate.
Senator Abeler.
Well, thank you. I just didn't remember all those were there. And the 8-hour limit on IHS, would that be effective like July 1st then, or what do you know when that, is it, because it come up soon, or is it like next year or something?
I thought 26, 28.
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, so I don't have the exact date. Perhaps Mr. Monahan can look that up. But I do see that it produces that proposal for the 8-hour cap does produce some savings in 26. So presumably fiscal year 26, excuse me. So.
Oh, I see. That's line 272, so I can read it. Well, there's, what?
Keep going.
Well, training units. So that raises quite a bit of money. And it looks like it takes effect in 27 mostly. So. All right. Thank you. That's what you said. Thank you.
So then, Senator Abeler, look at 277 and see the offsetting that we're doing there. So there's some things we did not take. See that? It's $500 million. It was trying to find the balance, Jim, really about the articulated argument going forward. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so I'll just note that on line 277, it's a governor's proposal to cap the inflation adjustment at 2% per year. That's not included in the DE. However, on the next page, moving to page 6, line 282, so this proposal is a new proposal that would use CPI as a mechanism for future inflation adjustments to the disability weight waiver system, and then it also increases the competitive workforce factor. So the changes in 26 and 27 in terms of reduced future expenditures is 155.2 million in the first biennium, and then roughly 194.2 in the tails.
Senator Abeler, when we set up DWRS 2013, remember the argument about CPI versus the BLS, and we had to do the BLS because it was county by county by county. There was all these different factions in there, and I think we're at that point where that would probably be worthwhile to put it like everybody else is doing CPI, and so that was the argument into that.
Mr. Chair, we don't have to always follow the crowd, you know.
Huh?
We don't have to always follow the crowd.
No, that's why if we would have followed the full crowd, Jim, it'd be $504 million in savings by moving it all to the CPI, right? I mean, it would have been that's would have been doing it. But I think the system it's now we set up the secured. It's no longer county by county, but we have this statewide system, so it makes sense. Anyway, that was the argument there, Jim.
Yeah. So the proposal on line 282 and following is your answer to the governor's one on 277.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's a better choice.
It's a better choice.
So, thanks.
And they didn't even have CPI, Jim, they didn't even have CPI in their discussion, right? CPI BLS, and it was like, and we went to BLS specifically because of all those changes. Do you remember that conversation?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I do not. Julia Rosen remembers it. So.
Sorry, Mr. Raymond, go ahead. This is, I'm glad I can, all right, keep going.
Mr. Chair, members, so next moving again on page 6, line 287. So this is a governor's proposal to reduce expected disability waiver rate expenditures by limiting rate exceptions. So the DE takes that proposal, although there was a component of the governor's proposal that funded rate input monitoring, and that's not included in the DE. Moving next to line.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Abeler.
So I understand, and I know you had to hit a target, but when we talked about rate exceptions and exceptions in general, to me that improves a well-run system that has hardly any.
Yep.
The only reason some of these families survive is through the exception process, and I know that's on your mind, so I'm not burdening you with that, but if there's something that we could do different about that, if we could demand that they have a system that is 95% all the same and comes out perfect. That's just my comment.
So as you're looking at that, if you're looking at that language there, because the other one that came up too is when we have somebody at DCT that goes to a community-based placement that has high behavioral needs, right? Those individuals that run those types of home and community-based settings, they need a specific behavioral health analyst to be on staff, and there's a rate exception. Those types of rate exceptions are not affected by this piece. So when you're looking at that, that should be, you should see that in there, and if it's missing it, you know, again, we got time. No. Mr. Raymond?
Mr. Chair, members, so on page 6, moving now to line 295. So this is from Senate File 815. So this proposal removes the enhanced rate training requirement for PCA and CFSS. So this proposal would cost about $4.2 million in the first biennium and $20.5 million in the tails. And I should note, I believe, yes, this is the effective date was delayed 1 year for this proposal.
Correct. We bought a year, Jim.
Moving next to line 302. So I believe the chair already spoke to this in his opening remarks, but this would modify waiver reimagine, so it delays waiver reimagine 1 year and then would add home care nursing to the individualized budgets. So this has a cost of $4.6 million in the first biennium and $50.6 million in the tails.
Remember this discussion, there was a note and that if the nursing services thing could be factored in and fixed or adjusted or make sense, then that would be a huge game changer, right? And then the other one is we don't have enough time. Well, we had to pay. So in this proposal, we're paying for the savings that you took in, I don't know, 2021 maybe or something like that. So make sure you guys are looking at, if just adding that nursing component is going to be okay, then we can remove that 1 year. But remember, the parents felt they weren't listened to, valued, and respected in this whole process. That's why I went back and said, let's buy what you saved on. So, Glenn.
Why don't we just get rid of the reimagine completely and go back to the way it was?
Imagine that.
Imagine that, Glenn. Well,
Just get rid of the whole thing and save the money.
we know why we had this conversation. It was to simplify the waivers. I mean, you're waiving your right to institutional care, so simplify this waiver system so it's down to 2. And we've been having this conversation for 10 years, Glenn, and I think we're going to still be there. So thank you.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the parents were saying they were going to lose services or have less services.
Well, that's why we put, if you look in there, the thing that's in this one, and so you look at that as if we do the home care nursing to the individualized budgets, that was one of the biggest things, and if that could fix it, you know, not fix it, but if that can help enhance it, then I think we got one more way of doing that. So, Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And on the waiver reimagine, I think there's still work to be done on that. I do think, though, we if we are going to look at actual waiver reform, we do have to have a different system. And so I think, Mr. Chair, like, especially if we're looking at utilization, eligibility, what services are granted, we do have to actually have reform be a part of that. And so I think this is an important piece. I'd be curious, especially on Wednesday, to just understand where DHS is at today, what this would mean for them in terms of their overall work on waiver reform.
For us buying a year, what does that mean? What does it look like? And then specifically, if you look at that, the nursing language you put in, we got that from a mom who happens to be a very good nurse, and, you know, we know her well from, you know, southern suburbs of the Twin Cities here. Very smart, articulate. Put that in there and said this would be a huge game changer there. It would be able. So, to your point, sounds like you wouldn't necessarily like to extend it a year, but let's talk about real reform in there. So I'm glad. That's good. Does that make sense? All right. Go ahead, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so next, moving still on page 6, moving to line 306. So this is from Senate File 2168, and this includes a cost reporting review and then also an assisted living facility compensation requirement exemption. So the review would come first, and I believe the exemption goes into effect January 1 of 2029. So this proposal had administrative costs associated with it, the cost of a cost of $314,000 in the first biennium and $228,000 in the tails. Moving next to line 312. This is from Senate File 1127. So this would allow reimbursement of CFSS provided in acute care hospital settings. This is the bill heard earlier today. And it's the same figures that I provided earlier. So this is section 11 of the bill only, and is of 1127 only, and is included in the DE at just over 4.4 million in the first biennium and just over 7 million in the tails. Moving next, now on page 7, line 320. This is a governor's proposal related to substance use disorder treatment and billing, and as well as provider modifications. So this is funded at the governor's level of just over 3.5 million in the first biennium, and it has expected reductions related to the changes of 3.5 million in the first biennium and about 18.9 in the tails.
Mr. Chair. You know, I'm sure this is not one that you were very excited about. You know, we're having a hard time finding people who can afford to work in the Medicaid system, as you well know, and
Yep.
you know, this is just going the wrong direction. But I don't know why the governor decided that was something he wanted to put in his thing and lead by, because if you just about double it, you're looking at you know, $40 million in the tails, and, you know, almost $50 million being taken out of the pockets of those providers. And I hope we can find a way around this one, Mr. Chair. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, look at that one too, because it's one of those, you know, maybe there's a new way of looking at things, Senator. So, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members.
Senator.
Mr. Chair, this is one where you didn't even get the banana, I'm afraid. So the store's out of bananas, Mr. Chair.
Well, and then the other thing that pops up too is if you look at in here, members, you'll see, you know, we put all this money in harm reduction and none of it was being utilized. So, you know, well, if that's the case, get back to the table and have another conversation. So, Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so moving still on page 7, moving to line 342 is the next proposal included. So this is from SF 2647. So this would modify substance use disorder comprehensive assessment requirements, as well as modify provider qualifications. So this had a one-time contract cost of just over $102,000 in the 26-27 biennium. Moving next to line 347. So this is a governor's proposal related to behavioral health fund modifications. So this the DE takes 2 of the governor's proposals and does not take the third. So included in the DE is ending the local agency allocation and with that, there's also DHS admin, there's additional work that the agency is doing. I don't recall off the top of my head, I apologize. That's wrapped up into that proposal. This also reduces the behavioral health fund eligibility determination period to 60 days, and it's currently 1 year. So what is not included is the increase in the county share included in the governor's budget that was moved the current county share of 22.95% up to 50%.
So,
Senator Gruenhagen.
well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically, we're shifting costs down to the county here?
No, we did not accept, if you look at, Glenn, if you look at,
Oh, I see.
see the zero there, we did our, see that?
But what
Okay.
about line 349?
You know, we didn't take it all. He's got, if you look at, there's 3 provisions he has in his proposal, and we only took 2 of them, because if you really want to argue something, you gotta, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, then it gets you to the table on discussion, but clearly that county share thing, what we tried to attempt, Glenn, again, is we're all making cuts here. We want to be an equal opportunity cutter here.
Okay.
And I'm saying it's like, where's UDCU when you need them? You know, we got $2 billion more than we did in the last biennium, but we're still seeing structural cuts in
So
services.
will the counties under state statute have to make up the difference?
If this were to be the last and final bill, which it ain't going to be, because it's going to come back here looking completely different than it does now, right? Then the answer would be yes, they would have to make up the difference in that one part of it. Absolutely. Okay. Hence, that was the argument, Glenn. Remember at the very beginning when we looked at the proposal, did I tell you that out of 2.3 billion, 1.5 billion was coming out of human services? Do you remember that? It's 65% when we make up 25%. Part of that was a shift to the counties, about $638 million. If I'm off by $50 million, one of the Freemans might text me and tell me the exact number. That would be nice. But yeah, Glenn, that's the whole argument. How are we offsetting that in order to not have to go?
So, quick question, Mr. Chair. Is this the only area that we're shifting to the counties?
No, there's a couple other in there, but it's, again, look at it overall. And on Wednesday, Glenn, before Wednesday, we're going to get you'll get a breakdown of how everybody is, fairness in taking cuts. So just take a look at that. But keep that mind going. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, now moving to page 8, line 357. So this is from Senate File 1826 and would modify, this is a modified version of the original bill that changed payment rates for SUD treatment services. So this is funded in the first biennium at 2.6 million, and then in the tails is funded at 9.7 million. So what that modified version of the proposal includes is an increase to low intensity residential up to 100% of the rate study recommendations, and then also the other services are increased to 55% of the rate study recommendation, and there is inflation included, but and that is effective January of 2028. So moving to the next proposal on line 362, this is the governor's proposal regarding the SUD, the midpoint rule modification that is included in the bill, in the DE, I should say. Moving next to line 364, this is from Senate File 1139, and this establishes a supplementary housing support rate for Blue Earth County residential facility, and is funded at $360,000 in the first biennium, and is ongoing.
It's interesting, Mr. Raymond. This fix we have, there was an oversaturation of billing in a report that was done. I'm not going to say who the organization was, but one of the questions that just popped up is why isn't there any savings? Because it's a flush. We're going to 15-minute units versus 1-hour unit, and that you're still going to have the same billables. But it should be a savings, because if the same billables are happening at 1-hour units, they were extended. There was 58 million or something. Why couldn't we capture that savings? That's a great question. Is there any way we could look at seeing if there are any savings in that, Mr. Raymond? What do you think?
Mr. Chair, certainly could ask the question. Perhaps the department would have insight into your question.
Shaking her head back there. Should we make Elise Bailey come down here and bring her spreadsheet? No, you don't have to, Elise. Okay, come on down, Elise. It's a spreadsheet question. You want to ask it, Jordan? That's a great question. Hello, Miss Bailey.
Hi, Chair Hoffman, members, Elise Bailey, Budget Director. We actually are counting savings in the governor's budget as a result of the midpoint billing rule. It is within the block starting at 320.
You're counting it on line 320?
Yeah, it's in that, Chair, it's in that proposal where we are shifting the hourly units to a 15-minute unit and, you know, clarifying the midpoint billing rule.
Wow, there is. All right, thank you. Thank you. You want to hang out or you go back in the corner?
Chair, I'm happy to hang out, happy to go back.
You tell us how you feel, so thank you so much. You want to hang, you can hang. Mr. Raymond. I know. You're good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, so moving next to line 364. This is, oh, sorry, I apologize. I already said that one. Moving next to line 368, this is the governor's proposal related to medical assistance disability determination changes. I believe this is allowing Medicaid data access to SMRT, and then also allowing for authorizing electronic signatures. So that is included in the DE. Moving next to line 370, this is from Senate File 1953. So this is the human services portion of that bill related to increasing the non-emergency medical transportation base rate for protected transport. So that had a cost associated with it that's included in the DE of $8,000 in the first biennium and $12,000 in the tails. Those following two proposals are not included in the DE, so I'll move next to page 9, line 391.
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And a question on the uniform administration for NEMT. Is it that proposal is entirely excluded for the single administrator, or is the policy there, but we just aren't booking the savings?
Mr. Raymond.
Perhaps Mr. Monahan can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the entirety of that proposal is not included.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Raymond.
All right, moving to page 9, line 391. This is from Senate File 812. Assisted living facility licensure and disability waiver rate study, and also requires draft legislation. So this proposal is included at a cost of $68,000 in the first biennium, and that is one time. Moving next to line 396, this is from Senate File 1789. This proposal provides additional funding for staffing for the Minnesota Board on Aging. This is funded in the DE at just over $4 million in the first biennium and about 4.1 in the tails.
Senator Rasmusson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the proposal on the Minnesota Board on Aging, is that, obviously in the spreadsheet it shows the general fund dollar impact, but is there any match for that, federal match for the general fund that's proposed in the spreadsheet?
I don't know. Mr. Raymond, do you know the answer to that question?
So there would be, as shown on line 400, there'd be a federal offset for a portion of the funds, and that's related to the costs on line 399. So that's the 32% federal, the FPP match. So there is some offset, but that is all that I'm aware of.
Senator?
So, yeah. Mr. Chair and Mr. Raymond, if I'm just looking at line 40, that dollar amount there in line 400,
yep.
That's the federal
savings
match. So it's, yep. Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Abeler.
Sorry, I was out goofing off, talking to the, nobody has any beer in the audience, Mr. Chair. I was looking for one, but actually they're gonna need whiskey after some of this stuff, but especially the House bill, the other body's bill is gonna be tough.
You wait till you see it.
Yeah, it's out, I guess.
This is, I think you only give me a B on this one. I want to know what you give on that one. It was like.
Anyway, so Mr. Chair, if you're going to up your grade to a B+, I just wanted to, I knew you were not going to ever do the parental fee thing, and I hope that we never do that. And I appreciate your ability to fight the temptation about that NEMT stuff. I think that's really false economy. And that should not go forward at all. I don't think we can, I was studying the funding stream of it.
Struggled with that one, Jim. That not NEMT one, that was a.
Well, it's like easy money.
That was a struggle conversation, and it's easy money. It's like, but it was like, no, it's not.
It's not going to work. And
correct.
And the Senate fought that off before, a similar proposal. And actually you need to put money into the system if you're going to make it work. And if indeed the broker will save money, then dump that back into the rates.
I remember this argument.
It's the people not getting rides are the fee for service. The health plans actually are doing a pretty good job of that, so we can I'll give them a B on their existence today after we fight about them all the time. But so it's the fee for service people, Mr. Chair, which as you understand is the people with disabilities, and they're not getting rides. So
right.
Just to keep your spine stiff on that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so now moving to, still on page 9, moving to line 402. So this is a grant to Seedsworth Sewing, or for the purpose of Seedsworth Sewing, and is $1 million per biennium ongoing. Moving next to line 406, this is additional funding for the Health Awareness Hub project. This is funded at $450,000 one time, and is in the first biennium. Moving next to line 410, this is from Senate File 792, and this is a grant to Boundary Waters Care Nursing Facility, or Care Center Nursing Facility, and is funded one time at $250,000 in fiscal year 2026. Moving next to line 414, this is from Senate File 1689. This provides additional funding for regional and local dementia grants. This is funded at $1.5 million per biennium in the DE. Moving next to line 418, this is from Senate File 2144. So this would fund the Catholic Charities Senior Dining Program, or provide additional funding. So this is funded at $400,000 per year ongoing. Moving next to line 422, so this is from Senate File 985 and establishes a disability inclusion pilot project, and is funded one time at $1 million in fiscal year 2026. Moving next now to page 10, looking at line 426. This is from Senate File 2297, and this is a grant for financially distressed family residential service providers. So this is funded at $1 million in the first biennium and is one time. So moving next to line 430, this is from Senate File 3122 that we heard today. This is the Direct Support Professional Pre-Training Program grant to Minnesota Ethnic Providers Network, and this is funded one time at $239,000 in fiscal year 2026. Moving next to line 434, this is an EIDBI autism training program to Mangar Voices. This is a one-time grant of $200,000 in fiscal year 2026. Moving next to line 438, this is linguistically and culturally specific sexual and domestic violence program grant to Issaroon. This is in fiscal year 2026 and is funded at $450,000 one time. Moving next to line 442, this is a grant to the Somali Youth Development Network, and this is funded in fiscal year 2026 at $200,000 one time. Moving next to line 446, this is from Senate File 2347. This is a culturally specific peer recovery and outreach grant to Generation Hope and is funded at $500,000 in fiscal year 2026 and is one time. Moving next to line 450, this is from Senate File 2031. So this is Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Services and Resource Grant to Restoration for All. This is funded in the first biennium at $869,000 and is one time. Moving to line 454, this is from Senate File 1138. This is an opioid prevention and education grant to change the outcome. This is ongoing funding of $850,000 per biennium starting in 26-27. So now moving to page 11, line 458. This is from Senate File 2732. This is a post-treatment recovery support grant to Twin Cities Recovery Project, and this is funded at $100,000 in 26 and is ongoing at $100,000 in 2028-29 as well. Moving next to line 462, this is from Senate File 2733. This is a recovery service expansion and support grant to NIA Recovery Institute. This is a one-time grant of $200,000 in fiscal year 2026. Moving next to line 466, this is from Senate File 260. This is a daily peer support grant and special session grant to Wellness in the Woods, and this is funded at $300,000 per year ongoing. So next I'll move to line 470. So this is originally a governor's proposal that eliminated a local planning grant. The DE includes multiple other components, which I can walk through. So first, the local planning grant is also included in the DE. Next is eliminating the funding for the safe recovery sites that was provided in the 2023 session. So this would reduce there's a remaining balance, a general fund balance. So that is canceled. And then there was administrative funding associated with that proposal that is canceled starting in fiscal year 2026, and then is ongoing. There was also an opioid fund, an appropriation that was in statute that was about $3 million per year. So that is eliminated in this proposal, and that was one of the items I alluded to earlier of the language related to that will come in with the appropriations article. So of that $3 million ongoing that's reduced in the opioid fund, $1 million of that is transferred to the general fund. So then moving next to there's a cancellation from the paid family medical leave bill that was a premium, supposed to, an offset for premiums under that bill. That amount of $20 million is canceled from the Family Medical Benefit Insurance Fund, and then is money of an equal amount is transferred from that fund to the general fund. Also, the Human Services Contingency Account, there some amount in that fund has been expended and encumbered, but the remaining amount is canceled and is the similar amount, so that is $2.5 million. So that $2.5 million is transferred from the special revenue fund to the general fund. There's also, I should note on line 489, so this is related to a proposal under direct care and treatment that I'll get to in a minute. So because there's essentially, because of the changes in Senate File 626, there is the advisory committee is changing to an advisory council, and the funds of the advisory committee are canceled here, but then the full amount is funded later under Senate File 626, which I will get to in a few minutes. So in addition, there was a community residential setting transitional grant that there was a drafting error associated with that is corrected in this bill, and the amount of that grant is canceled. And lastly, there was harm reduction grant from 2023, and the full appropriation for that grant is canceled in the DE. So moving next to
Mr. Chair. And so I've not done the exercise. You've had the opportunity to do a lot of this exercise, and you look at everything, and you know, if you look at some of the things that we did in 23 and 24, based upon what we now decide is really important or essential, to some things we might not have done. And so I can't comment on much of the things that you went through and cleaned out and made choices about. I'm sure there's some good reasons to have those programs, and but again, you drew a line and said, well, we need to make sure we protect nursing homes the best we can. We need to protect the programs the best we can. We don't want to take the governor's advice on that. And so I think that's a good exercise to do throughout the budget. And there are programs we've set up that simply never really mattered as much as we hoped they would. Yet they continue because they sound good or they're flashy or something. Yeah. And in times like this, in the words of Rahm Emanuel, you don't want to waste a good crisis. But sometimes that's a good chance to streamline and reorganize things. So I just wanted to sort of compliment you on that for me being kind of, sorry about the B thing, but there's not an A version of this, Mr. Chair. That's the problem.
Well, there isn't.
I just wanted to encourage you.
I appreciate that. I was going to say something funny, but you know.
But I think when we did this in 2011, I was looking at the grants, and frankly, most of the grants that I thought were just like, you know, nice grants were some federal funding then. Like, really, we can't do that. Like,
correct.
And so we had to keep those and then do other things that was much harder. But I think that if even the audience and the public, if they were aware of some programs that really have not lived up to expectations, then we could preserve things that are much more valuable and make sure that we hire our long-term care staff and protect the vulnerable institutions that we rely on. So thank you.
Can I actually get a quote Senator Abeler just acknowledged after all these years?
Staff could get the clip, Mr. Chair.
Senator Udke.
Mr. Chair, if I could get Mr. Raymond to just clarify something. You just had mentioned the 20 million transfer from its FMBI to general fund, and I looked that up as family and medical benefit insurance. Is that the paid family medical leave? Did I hear you say?
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Aki, yes, there was a 20 million base appropriation through the Human Services budget. So it's in the base budget of this committee.
Oh, so the 20, Mr. Chair.
They owed us that.
The 20 million is in the base budget. It's implanted there from now forward.
Mr. Chair, Senator Uckey, so it was a one-time amount of $20 million. I think the specified purpose was to offset premiums for, I believe it was for HCBS providers, so that was factored into this year's base, this would be the first time it would appear, and it was one time, and that full amount was canceled in the DE.
Okay, thank you.
Do you remember the conversation? John Marty, you owe us $178 million. Do you remember that 2 years ago? Because they had said the cost of implementing that to the 245D providers would have been X, which was the 178. Well, at the end, they said, okay, well, no, it's really 20 million. Well, that 20 million sat there and it was not allocated, so we grabbed it. So thank you for pointing that out. I still want, John Marty still owes us 178 million, by the way, so. Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, members, so now on page 12, I'll just identify that the next three proposals on all extend availability of existing appropriations. So first starting with line 493, this is from SF 2310. So this extends the availability of supported decision-making program grants. Moving next to line 498. So this was a bill heard earlier today, extending the availability of engagement services pilot grant to Otter Tail County. I'll note that this doesn't include the A1 amendment. It's just the underlying bill. And then moving next to line 503, this would extend the availability of the motion analysis advancements grant. For all of these, they show the estimated amount that would otherwise cancel and then extend, but they all net, they extend the appropriation, but all net to zero. Moving next to line 508, so this is the governor's proposal related to budget and technical changes. So that's included, except there was a shift for the Human Services Response Contingency Account that was the funds were moved out of that in a prior proposal, so that's not included. So that concludes the Department of Human Services. So now moving to Department of Direct Care and Treatment. So starting on line 554, this is a governor's proposal of an operating adjustment for DCT, and this is funded at the full governor's amount of just under 70 million in the first biennium and just over, it's about actually 90.5 million in the tails. Moving next to page 13, starting on line 563, this is from Senate File 666, provides ongoing free of charge communication services for patients and clients of certain direct care treatment facilities. So this is funded at the fiscal note amount of 753 and the 753,000 in the first biennium and just over 1.5 million in the tails. Moving next to line 567, this is the governor's proposal related to inpatient competency attainment examination, cost liability and data sharing. So this is funded at the governor's level. The reduction is included at the governor's level of just over 16.7 million per biennium, and that is ongoing. So moving next to line 575, so this is from Senate File 262 that I referenced earlier. So this modifies the direct care and treatment agency structure. This bill is funded at the fiscal note amount, or actually slightly above of 912,000 in the first biennium and the second biennium. This is what I was referencing earlier, that the fiscal note accounted for an offset related to that appropriation that was canceled previously. So this still fully funds the proposal, but there was an additional 317,000 that was unaccounted for, that was canceled in that other line because DCT is still under the Department of Human Services, so it was canceled there rather than over here.
We just talked about communication. We just talked about communication.
It just dawned on me, I was working at it last year on this.
Jordan, is that
Where did we place Rasmusson's work? Did we place it in the policy or in the finance? And he thinks it's in the finance side. So Liam is shaking his head yes. So you're right. Thank you. Senator Abeler.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'm happy we're paying. Are we paying equity people to like get their prohibitive rates, or are we taking it over and doing something more sensible on that proposal? And Mr. Chair, there are some very nice equity people around there. I want to point this out, but some of them have less of a conscience. So.
Equity dollar. Just go back to your. We got lost. Well,
no, on the phone. Are we on the communications?
Oh, yeah.
And so we were told that there's, for some reason, private investors have gotten involved and they're making
Claire's bill, your bill, Claire, yes. This is good.
So are we paying the rates they want? Are we doing a takeover of this and doing our own system?
Do you argue it's a good one, because you argued and Claire argued about the fact that there's less you know, somebody was taking advantage of something that was,
So
I
are we
don't know.
giving them
answer
the
to
money that they want, or are we taking this over and then they're
know.
going out of business? So, does
How can
anybody
we
know?
find that out?
Oh, we'll find out later. Just it's.
Because you know what, it'd be nice if you could, if it was actually, that would be less of a dollar amount than you're spending on than what it's there. Because I think this dollar amount is based upon that so-called market rate.
But there was a
No,
problem. It
it's-
had to be secured, and they couldn't have just their own emails, and they had to go through 2 filters or something, like the Matrix or something. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Raymond, can you matrix this one? Well, his first question to us, we were all looking at it, wait, what? Oh, they just said,
Move on. Thank you.
Mr. Raymond, go ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, so moving now, the last proposal I talked about was line 575, so moving now to line 579. So this is from Senate File 1479. So this funds the planning of a build out of a locked psychiatric residential treatment facility. I'll just note in the original bill, the bill was cost neutral because it canceled an appropriation, but that was under the Health and Human Services jurisdiction. This proposal is included in the DE, just pays for the plan. So that concludes the direct care and treatment. So now moving to the Department of Health, starting on line 605. So this is from Senate File 1918 and is administrative funding related to the consent to electronic monitoring requirements as provided in that bill. Moving next to line 609. This is from Senate.
Mr. Raymond, can I just ask a question? That was one of those bills we were waiting intently for a fiscal note to show up, correct? I'm kidding. It's $3,000. It was one of those moments of,
That was funny.
It was funny. Mr. Raymond, I won't disturb you anymore, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. So now moving to line 609. This is from Senate File 2055. So I'm just, there are policy provisions that are related to this proposal, assisted living service termination requirement modifications that are included. There's also a separate component with a cost that I'll get to in a minute. So moving next to line 611, this is from Senate File 812. There were costs split between multiple agencies from this proposal. So I believe I've already mentioned this, but it's customized living study and draft legislation. So this had a cost of $90,000, and that was one time to MDH. Moving next to page 14, looking at next at line 615. This is from Senate File 554, establishing a community care hub grant. So this is funded at just over $4.9 million in the first biennium, and then is ongoing at that same level. Moving next to line 622. So this is from Senate File 2630. Establishing the Age-Friendly Minnesota Council. I mentioned that earlier with DHS. There's also a MDH administrative cost of $111,000 per year ongoing. Moving next to line 626. So this is a governor's proposal to reduce the HCBS employee scholarship grants and loan forgiveness program. So this would just reduce the base funding and not cancel the full amount. So this is in the DE. It's included at the governor's level of having a savings to the state of $500,000 in the first biennium, and that is ongoing.
Say, Mr. Chair?
Senator?
Yeah, why are we establishing an age-friendly Minnesota council? Don't we have enough of those councils?
No, Mr. Raymond, I can answer that.
What are they going to do?
Well, they've been around, Senator. They're just, if you go look at Age-Friendly Minnesota Council, they used to be a different name for them. So it's all in conjunction. look at your other ones we have. There's 2 other ones in there too. I don't know if you looked the last time, but almost 25% of our population is 65 and older, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, if I look at that expenditure versus nursing home, I'd much rather help nursing homes.
I'm loving it. Have the conversation at that. Yeah,
Okay.
no, when you take a look at the language in there, and if it doesn't fit, what you're thinking, because there are 3, if you look at, you got 3 different
Yeah.
things that we put in there, including, I think 2 of those are yours, Glenn, so yeah, I mean, seriously.
Well, I'd rather help the nursing home even if it was mine. So, I mean, my nursing homes are just right.
Set up.
I mean, I've met with most of them, and they're just right there. That's why I appreciate if you get rid of that dibble bill, by the way.
Glenn,
Yeah.
people are working on that, because what was the agreement we all had here, that people would work together on that, right?
Yeah,
So
let's work it out, is my point.
let's work it out, Glenn. Thank you. I love it. Mr. Raymond, go ahead. I'm glad you're here, Glenn. I don't care what anybody says.
Mr. Chair, members, so now that concludes all the proposals included in the DE for the Minnesota Department of Health. So now moving on to health-related boards, there was one bill that had some costs for a couple of health-related boards. So this was SF 2647. I already spoke about that in, I believe, the Department of Human Services section. However, there is a substance use provider licensing study and recommendations that were required. The Behavioral Health and Therapy Board of Medical Practice and Board of Nursing were all a part of that, and identified costs of for the Board of Behavioral Health and Therapy, $3,000 one time in fiscal year 26 and 27. For the Board of Medical Practice, $4,000 one time, and the Board of Nursing, $6,000 one time. So now moving to page 15, the Council on Disability, there are 2 separate proposals. One is an operating adjustment, which is a governor's proposal, and the DE includes that the operating adjustment at the governor's level. Moving next to line, this is 729 now. This is canceling an appropriation that was made in the, I believe it was last year's Human Services bill for a legislative task force on guardianship. So that is, the full appropriation is canceled.
And that came at the request of those that involved legislators, the Dibble and Warren. So that was something. Glenn.
Yeah, I guess the question is, are we adding any state FTEs in this proposal?
We can do that. Yes, I think the answer is yes, Glenn. Like 1,000 of them.
I mean, 1,000 FTEs.
No, I'm kidding, Glenn.
Well, we could scratch that one.
Bite it.
No,
no, I don't know, Glenn. I think we'll take a look at that. Yeah, we can get an answer to that.
I think we got to be careful on that, because I'd rather help local, the nursing homes, the counties, and those types of things, rather than add additional state FTEs.
Yep. I think we're good, but we'll get that.
Yeah.
Clearly get
Just
that.
a thought.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. No, I think maybe we can get that question asked, Mr. Raymond, if there's additions to that. That would be great to know. Did I forget something else that we wanted to ask the department through Mr. Raymond? Senator Abeler or Senator Gruenhagen?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the other thing, I just think if any of this money is used for salary increases, unless it's vitally, like I heard a proposal, if we just froze inflation, the inflationary increases, we'd save about $2.5 billion off the budget right across the board. Now, I don't know if that's completely accurate or not, but I've heard that several times. So, I mean, when I look at this, I just think anywhere we can just freeze the funding at the previous level, it might help us also.
Interesting.
Especially on some of these councils.
And are you talking, would you do that? Well, if that's the case, because it's when you look at the large bucket of caregivers let's pick one of our DWRS, right? The Disability Waiver Rate Services System.
Yeah.
If we froze funding this year, there would be a huge savings, Glenn. But I don't think, I don't know if I would be
I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I know you are, and I'd be like, what's the number? I don't know what the number would be, but I do know we've.
And when you can't sleep at night, think about it, okay?
Well, I can't sleep at night, but I know, just use your long-term care facilities. When Sanford Health closed in your backyard, I was there. Believe it or not, I come and hang out in Glen Senate District. No, we don't go out for dinner. The thing that got me, Glenn, was they couldn't compete against the cities. Remember that? Remember that comment? And that's what, and Arlington is an hour from, if you think about the cities, right? Just outside of the metro area. Yeah, so, I mean, no, I'm with you on that. So, Mr. Raymond, you want to take us home on the next 2, 3?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members. So the next is the Ombudsman for Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, looking at line 735. This is an operating adjustment and is funded, and it's the governor's proposal and is funded at the governor's level. And I will say, I had a chance to look. So to Senator Gruenhagen's question, both for the Council on Disability and the Ombudsman for Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, the operating increases are not, there are no additional FTEs, but it is employee compensation and insurance and other operating costs. Moving next to line 739. So this is for an appropriation to the Office of Administrative Hearings. This is looking at line 741 now from Senate File 2055. This had a policy portion that was included under MDH, but there's also there is a cost related to additional FTEs related to the expedited hearings as required under that bill. As I understand it, I think the timeline cut in half. As a result, the Office of Administrative Hearings had a cost for additional staffing of $534,000 in the first biennium, and that is ongoing at that same level. And lastly, there's an appropriation to the Minnesota Humanities Center. So this is from Senate File 1717, a ULI 2025 grant that is funded one time in fiscal year 2026 at $68,000. And that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Senator Gruenhagen, do you want to get any kind of information about what this budget would look like if we froze inflation? Are you interested in getting that information? So maybe, Mr. Raymond, can you send a note to our wonderful friends at the Department of Human Services, say, Glenn, go ahead and state what you want.
Yeah, not only the inflation, but also on all these little councils like this Humanities Center. Is this money being used for salary benefit increases?
No,
if it is.
No, Glenn, those are direct, most of those little ones you see, because it's the history of this committee, those are direct appropriations.
Okay.
That's a direct appropriation for a project that's specific. So, and that should be in your language and you look in there. So, but so those are good questions. So,
And if there's any additional FTEs, we should really scrutinize those because,
Yeah.
I mean, when we're cutting nursing homes, everything else, I mean, the last thing we need to do is increase the state workforce.
So when we're talking about freezing inflation, we're talking about freezing inflation across the board, 245D, 144G, DWRS?
Yeah, just see what it looks like.
All right.
Then we can pick and choose from there.
Senator Abeler.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually know part of the answer to that question. If you do that exercise, you'll wish for the governor's 2% increase for nursing homes and all the places.
I'm not going there. I want him to. I want
Oh, you
him
wanna
to
do it?
see it. No, I want him to see it.
That's fine. Just to the bill, Mr. Chair.
No, to the bill, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Anyway, so you've heard me say, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 times, I appreciate the challenge. I thought the governor made an error when he shifted all that money to the counties. And actually, you well know this. You could give the speech yourself. There are people in those counties who can easily afford a property tax increase. Mm-hmm. You know, they've been, you know, they're well-heeled and all is well. But most people in my district are just trying to get by. They're blue-collar, they're living their life. Some are retired, some are widows. And I think going forward, as we look at the county shifts, both here, I mean, the bill is there, and I don't know how you fix any of that, but at the end of the day, somebody has to agree to this. And I don't think Republicans or Democrats are willing to raise like a widows or some of these people with disabilities property taxes to force them from their homes. And at some point, that's going to happen. And I just think that's a burden that we just want to be really careful of. We had testimony about what the 460 million would mean. I believe the other body is a little less kind even than that. Mr. Chair, you are the kindest cut of all. So, but even at that, I think if there's a way we can somehow find a way to work around that, it would be beneficial. Mr. Chair, if you want somebody to move your amendment, if Mr. Monahan agrees we want to move the amendment today, I've always listened to him, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Mr. Monahan, to the question of the good senator from Anoka, which, by the way, he forgot to say this. When he's talking about his Senate district, don't you know the old... People around his Senate district believe the sun rises and sets over Goodrich Field. I just want to make sure you're aware of that, so, Mr. Monahan.
You just confused them altogether. Do you want me to move the amendment, Mr. Monahan?
Mr. Chair, Senator Abeler, it's entirely up to the committee whether they move it today or Wednesday. Makes no difference.
Senator Abeler, you want to renew your motion?
Well, yeah, I actually, having reviewed this legislation, I appreciate the fact that you made some market improvements to what you had to work with. So I'd like to move that, whatever number it is.
A1. Senator Abeler moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same side. Thank you. With that, members, thank you, Mr. Raymond, and thank you, Mr. Monahan. The Senate file 3054 as amended is now before us. And so I think we're just going to lay this one over. Is that correct, Mr. Monahan? So Wednesday, let's look at this budget omnibus bill testimony, amendments, markup, discussion on Wednesday. Fair enough for people?
Yeah.
Glenn.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. You know, one of the things about the shifts, some of the shifts in here to the counties, which I appreciate minimizing as much as possible, is maybe we can repeal the law that mandates they have to pick up these services and give them some flexibility in how they decide to make up the difference. I don't know.
Take a look.
It's just a suggestion. That I know how it goes with these counties. I mean, we send this stuff down, and they just have to come up with it, and they're going to push up property taxes, in my opinion. So the more flexibility we can give them, the better.
So think about that as we're looking at this, because this is not just about Wednesday. This is not, woo, here we go, we got this bill, right? But this is really about how are we going to leverage ourselves when we go across the street, right? Because there's going to be, I don't know, somebody in the corner office will let me know whether there's going to be 3 of us, 4 of us, or 5 of us, but it's going to be this committee going over there to have the conversation, right? And then it's going to be what it is. So for me, Glenn, it's really, we laid it out here. Y'all look at this, go, no, I think this is a better leverage point for us over there. And the other thing, which we'll come back to, Mr. Raymond, I tried to level this off. We're all equally, all along the whole spectrum of service providers within this budget, right? We did not play favorites on that. I would like us to keep that mentality that we are more than fair share players in this table. And I appreciate you guys in the hard work on this. With that, any further comments? We are adjourned. See you Wednesday.